the divine Pymander. The vision of Hermes. It chanced once on a time, while I was meditating on the things that are, my thought was raised to a great height, yet my bodily senses had been put under restraint as in sleep, though not such sleep as that of men weighed down by fullness of food or bodily weariness. Methought a being more than vast, in size beyond all bounds, called out my name and said, "What would you hear and see, and what have you in mind to learn and know?" "Who are you?" said I. "I am the Pymander, divine mind of the sovereignty, the shepherd of men. I know what you desire, and I am with you everywhere." "I long to learn the things that are," I replied, "and comprehend their nature, and know God. This is what I desire to hear." "Hold in your mind all you would know," the shepherd answered back to me, "and I will teach you the above and the below." Forthwith all things changed in aspect before me and were opened out in an instant. And I beheld a boundless view. All was changed into light, a mild and joyous light. And I marveled when I saw it. And in a little while, there came to be in one part a downward tending darkness, terrible and grim, and methought it like unto a snake. And thereafter I saw the darkness changing into a watery substance, which was unspeakably tossed about. Coiling in sinuous folds, it gave forth smoke as from fire. And I heard it making an indescribable sound of lamentation, for there was sent forth from it an inarticulate cry. But from the light there came forth a holy speech, which took its stand upon the watery substance, and methought this word was the voice of the light. And the divine mind spoke for me to hear. That light is I, even the one mind, the first God, who was before the watery substance that appeared out of darkness, and the word which came forth from the light is Son of God. Learn my meaning by looking at what you yourself have in you, for in you too, the Word is Son, and mine the Father of the Word. They are not separate one from the other, for life is the union of word and mind. Now fix your thought upon the light and learn to know it. I saw in my mind that the light consisted of innumerable powers and had come to be an ordered world, but a world without the bounds of material existence. This I perceived in thought, seeing it by reason of the words that the divine mind had spoken to me. And when I was amazed, he spoke again to me. You have seen in your mind the archetypal form, which is prior to the beginning of things and is limitless. The first emanation descent of the Logos. But tell me, I asked, whence did the elements of nature come into being? They issued from God's purpose, came the answer, which beheld that beauteous world and copied it. The watery substance, the one thing, having received the word, was fashioned into an ordered world, the elements being separated out from it. And from the elements came forth a brood of living creatures. And the one mind, that mind of life and light, being male and female both, gave birth to another mind, which was a maker of things. And this made out of the elements 7 planetary administrators who encompass with their orbits the world perceived by sense. And their administration is called fate. The second emanation mind the maker. And forthwith, the word of God leapt up from the downward tending elements of nature to the pure body of the highest sphere that had already existed and united with mind the maker, for the word was of one substance with that mind too. And the downward tending elements of nature were left devoid of reason, so as to be mere matter. Then mind the maker united with reason, and he who surrounds the spheres and spins them with his whirl, set turning his formations, and let them turn from a beginning boundless unto an endless end. For the circulation of these spheres begins where it does end in a circle, as mind does will. And from the downward tending elements nature brought forth lives without reason. For he did not extend reason the Logos to them. The air brought forth things winged. The water things that swim, and in the watery substance, earth and water one from another were separated, as mind the maker willed. And from her bosom, nature produced living things, 4-footed animals and reptiles, beasts wild and tame. The third emanation the descent of man. But the one mind, being both life and light, next brought forth man, a being like to himself, with whom he fell in love, as being his own child. For it was beautiful beyond compare, the image of its sire. In very truth, God fell in love with his own form. And on it did bestow all of his own creations. And when man gazed upon what mind the maker had created in the region of fire, he too wished to create, and so assent was given him by the Father. Changing his state to the formative sphere, where he was to have his whole authority, man had in himself all the workings of the archetypal administrators. Likewise, they fell in love with him, and each gave him a share of their own ordering. And after that, man had well learned their essence and had become a sharer in their nature. Man then had a mind to break right through the boundary of their spheres, and to subdue the might of the which pressed upon the fire. So he who had the whole authority, having learned the being of the administrators, willed to break through the spheres and showed to downward tending nature God's fair form. And when nature saw that form of beauty that can never satiate, and man who now possessed within himself each single energy of all 7 administrators as well as God's own form, she smiled with love. For it was as though she had seen the image of God's fairest form upon her water, his shadow on her earth. He in his turn beholding the form like to himself, existing in her water, loved it and willed to live in it. And with the will came actuality, and so man vivified the form devoid of reason. And nature took the object of her love and wound herself completely round him, and they were intermingled, for they were lovers. And this is why beyond all creatures on the earth, man is twofold mortal because of body, but because of his essential eternal substance, immortal. Though deathless and possessed of sway over all, yet does man suffer as a mortal does, subject to fate. Thus, though his true nature is above the spheres, within the spheres he has become a slave. Though male-female, he is from a male-female mind. And though he is sleepless from a sleepless sire, yet is he overcome by sleep. The first men. Thereon I say teach on, O divine mind of me, for I myself as well am amorous of the word. And the shepherd said this is the mystery kept hid until this day nature embraced by man brought forth a wonder, oh so wonderful. For as he had the nature of the concord of the 7, who, as I said to you, were made of fire and spirit. Nature did not delay but immediately brought forth 7 men, in correspondence with the natures of the 7 administrators, male-female were they and moving in the air. 08 Shepherd, I said, for now I'm filled with great desire and long to hear. Do not run off. Keep silence, said the shepherd, for not as you have I unrolled for you the first discourse. Lo! I am still, said I,